Minister Dr. S. Jaishankarji. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to each one of you, ladies and gentlemen, to this August gathering. Today's event, the book release of Modi at 20, Dreams Meet Delivery, is a matter of immense pride and honor for us at Bluecraft Digital Foundation. The journey of Bluecraft began in 2016 with the motto that for the transformation of governance, it is essential that there should be a transformation of mindset. And if there is one person who has successfully brought in this transformation, and I'm sure everyone will agree with me in this August gathering, it is none other than our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, whose rise in politics in India in itself is a watershed movement. As Shri Modi ji completes 20 remarkable years as the head of the government, initially as the Chief Minister of Gujarat and presently as the Prime Minister of India, we at Bluecraft have attempted to showcase a perspective on Prime Minister's unique and revolutionary manner of governance through the compilation of this book. At this juncture, I would also like to thank the illustrious authors, some of whom are present amongst us, for taking time out of their busy schedules and penning down their insightful thoughts on the Prime Minister's leadership. Finally, I would also like to thank Rupa Publication for publishing this book. Thank you, and once again, a warm welcome.
धन्यवाद हितेश जी। अब पुस्तक की परिकल्पना के बारे में संक्षिप्त जानकारी के लिए आमंत्रित हैं ब्लूक्राफ्ट डिजिटल फाउंडेशन के सीईओ श्री अखिलेश मिश्रा जी।
The Honorable Vice President of India, distinguished authors of the various chapters in the book, including two very eminent people present on the stage, other dignitaries and members of the audience. Modi at 20. Now, why is this relevant? Many leaders have had a tenure of 20 years, maybe less or slightly more. But in a democratic country like India, with such vast diversity, language, regions, culture, to be in a democratically elected leader for 20 continuous years, winning election after election, is a unique thing. India's uniqueness is also highlighted by the fact that we are a very, very youthful nation. We have the culture and the historical and the civilizational tradition of debates, discussions. It is rarely an idea that finds relevance for a significant period of time, and yet for 20 years, the idea of Modi, or should I say, the ideas by Modi, have held the nation in thrall. So this is a very, very special occasion, especially that this is happening in a democratic country like India, which is not an authoritarian state, which is not a controlled democracy, but a free democracy with judiciary, free media, and therefore this 20 years is important. Now, there are some obvious, visible, tangible markers through which we can measure these 20 years. The first, obviously, is that the Prime Minister has won every election on which he has been on a ticket. He has never been defeated. Be it 3 times as Chief Minister of Gujarat winning elections, or twice winning the Prime Ministerial candidate. And what is more significant is this, that his popularity never wins. He wins the next election with a greater majority. And in a country like India, where every 6 months there is some election from parliament to municipality, and incidentally, Prime Minister himself becomes a factor even in a municipal election, this popularity is tested election after election after election, and yet for 20 continuous years running, Mr. Modi has led the thought, the process, the vision for the country for the last 20 years, 2.5 years as Chief Minister, 7.5 years, this month it will become 8 years as Prime Minister. So these are some of the obvious, tangible things that you can measure this. There is one more which we have highlighted in this book. Prime Minister is the first Prime Minister Modi is the first Prime Minister to be elected in office through public acclaim. Now, what do I mean by this? That before Mr. Modi, every other Prime Minister was either nominated in the post for the first time, later they may have gone and won majorities, or if they were nominated before the election, they did not get complete majority. Mr. Modi is the only Prime Minister who was nominated before the Prime Minister election and won absolute majority on his own. This is a unique achievement. No other Prime Minister has this achievement. So these are some of the tangible through which we can measure these 20 years. But what are the intangibles? The way the culture has changed. So I will list out just 3-4 because of paucity of time. One, and we have seen this recently also, that as a country, as a people, we are no longer satisfied with mere participation certificate. If we participate, now we want a position on the podium. So that is a great mindset change that he has brought. Second, we are no longer satisfied with the second best. If something is happening in the world, we want India to have the same achievement at the same time. If the world has a COVID vaccine developed, then we want a vaccine at the same time as anybody else in the world gets, and we do it. Third mindset change that he has been able to brought, and which one of our authors has written in this book, is the mindset change of we are now undaunted by any challenge whatsoever. If there is a challenge, we say we will face it. Hoga kaise nahi? How will this not happen? And we then make it happen. A very recent example is the evacuation that we did out in the war between in Ukraine and Russia. Fourth is, and this is again something which Prime Minister's is his own unique ability, that normally one would think that a politician is not necessarily trusted when there is a crisis. Mr. Modi has turned this wisdom upside down. If there is a crisis, the person we trust first is Mr. Modi. कि अगर ये है तो हो जाएगा. Fifth, obviously, is the culture that he has brought, which is of Jan Bhagidari, public participation, participative governance. So there is a participation in making policy between the government, elected representatives, and the people of the country. Sixth is that now there is no dichotomy between our civilizational and cultural heritage and our modern impulses. Mr. Modi has shown that both can seamlessly fuse together and coexist, and we can emerge as a modern nation while being proud of our cultural and civilizational heritage. And finally, there is a significant amount of policy impact that I don't need to list out here. Now, given all this, the tangible achievements, the intangible achievements, it would be impossible for one person, one organization to summarize this in a book. Nobody, how much well-versed that person may be, would be able to summarize this one book format. And that is why we came up with the idea that we will request eminent people who are experts in their own domain to then discuss the Prime Minister's work in these last 20 years and put it in a book format so that it can be a reference material for future generations. So this book that is being released today, it has 5 sections, 21 chapters, and there are 22 eminent authors. One chapter has been co-written by 2 other people. So 21 chapters. These 5 sections are, the first section is the social impact. We call it people first. So what is the social impact of Prime Minister? This is in with respect to youth, with respect to women, how to eradicate and completely eliminate poverty. Second section is the political and the cultural impact. The way electioneering has been completely changed in India, how politics have become people first, and the cultural impact. The third section is the economic section, which talks about the economic reforms, last mile delivery, delivering at speed and scale. Fourth section is the governance model. This has 8 chapters. This is the longest section, and it takes us through the various facets of Prime Minister's governance, be it crisis management, be it Jan Bhagidari, be it use of technology in governance, and so on. And the final chapter is India's engagement with the world, which includes our foreign policy, our defense policy, and our relations and how we manage our diaspora. So these are the 5 sections, and now I don't want to take your time. The best people to talk about these sections is the authors themselves, so we will listen to the authors. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
धन्यवाद अखिलेश जी. अब बारी है इस पुस्तक के बारे में एक ऑडियो विजुअल प्रस्तुतिकरण की. इस प्रस्तुतिकरण के माध्यम से हम सुनते हैं उन महानुभावों के कुछ विचार जिन्होंने इस पुस्तक में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के व्यक्तित्व और उनके कार्यों से संबंधित अपने अनुभव को कलमबद्ध किया है.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
statesman, visionary. In a journey spanning 20 years, Shri Narendra Modi has played many roles. As a three-time Chief Minister of Gujarat, he led the state's transformation from relative underdevelopment to one of India's most prosperous and fastest-growing states.
मैं मॉडर्नाइजेशन का पक्षकार हूं, लेकिन मॉडर्नाइजेशन विदाउट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन.
As a two-term Prime Minister, he continues to unshackle India with far-reaching socio-economic reforms that has empowered 1.3 billion Indians in more ways than ever before. As a statesman, he's amongst a select few world leaders to simultaneously win the respect of nations that oppose each other. Modi at 20, dreams meet delivery, brings together intellectuals, policymakers, industry leaders, and experts across varied fields to chronicle the shaping of new India that is both in tune with its civilizational moorings as well as modern in outlook and achievements. Modi at 20 offers a holistic view of 2 decades of Narendra Modi. On 7th October 2021, Shri Modi completed 20 continuous years as head of democratically elected governments. 12 and a half years as Chief Minister of Gujarat, and 7.5 years and counting as the Prime Minister of India. The phenomenon becomes unique when seen in the light that before 2001, Shri Modi had never held any elected office. Since then, he's remained undefeated in 5 consecutive elections: 2002, 2007 and 2012 as Chief Ministerial Candidate in Gujarat, 2014 and 2019 as Prime Ministerial Candidate. And his popularity has only grown with time. Let us listen from the authors of the various chapters themselves as they take us through the unique insights that they offer in their respective chapters.
Narendra Modi's unstinting support to entrepreneurs, to the startup world, to people who build the nation through enterprise has been unstinting over his entire journey. And I've had the privilege of being associated with him through this entire period of 20 years.
Modi ji has repeatedly emphasized that our nation must transition from women's development to women-led development.
In my article, I have written that what a modular approach meant to him. How one project led to another project, then to the third project, and ultimately the final message was well-being of the masses. For him, it is nation which matters, and he always thought that he lives for the nation.
I'll give a true incident. 20 years back, I met mother and a child. A mother was a cook. A child was going to school. And I met them and I talked to them. The mother told me that she wants her daughter should become a receptionist. And that is her aim in life. Now, the girl has become an entrepreneur. I asked her why it happened, how it happened, and what is the reason. She said, I have changed in 20 years. Government is extremely supportive in all their schemes, and she went on telling that how her parents have a bank account. A great leader can inspire people. He can bring a wind of change in many directions. And that is what has happened in our country.
Gujarat's agriculture achieved a tremendous rate of growth of 9.2% per annum. This is unheard of in the Indian history of agriculture in any state. I would say this is the first time in the history of thousands of years of India, India has exported 20 million tons of rice in 21-22 in a global market of about 50 million tons.
PM Modi says that India's attitude towards meeting its goals has changed from chalta hai to badal sakta hai, which has struck a chord with me. This is the same attitude that a young person brings to whatever he or she approaches. It is the same attitude that PM Modi has shown in governance too.
I've looked deeply at the environmental and ecological leadership provided by Mr. Modi, including on issues related to climate change. Mr. Modi has shown that development and sustainability can coexist.
Our culture has been, in a sense, under attack for a long time. And my chapter explores what Prime Minister Modi has done consistently, and even earlier what he did in his role as a Chief Minister. Prime Minister Modi has focused not just on Kashi Vishwanath Ji temple, but one explores various other temple towns that have been revived. And it's not just the worship places of Hinduism, but the worship places of all other religions that exist in India.
Something unique about the Prime Minister is his ability to carry out schemes on scale. So we mentioned Aadhaar, then there was Jan Dhan, Swachh Bharat. Now we are seeing another very, very big initiative underway, which is the Nal Se Jal.
I asked a bystander why he supported Modi ji. A young boy confidently said, क्योंकि सपने दिखाना सिखाया है हमें मोदी जी ने, हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी ने. People trust Modi ji because he delivers. It is his success that has strengthened public trust in his leadership.
This book is not only a must-read for those interested in political science and governance, but it's also a masterclass in communications, in personal development, and in management studies.
In last 7 years, he has brought a tremendous change, tremendous excitement, not only for India, but also for Indian American community. And I would really try to say that worldwide community, worldwide Indian diaspora.
I worked in different parts of the world. I know how the health system works. No country in the world could have vaccinated 150 crore people in such a short period of time. It's simply not possible. But we have done it. So essentially, India has managed to prove that we can do amazing things provided we have a leader like Mr. Modi.
It is his appreciation of the possibilities of technology which has enabled digital India, now entering what is called as the tech decade or techade. And just as we used technology to build Aadhaar, the Jam Trinity, many more things are happening. India is a digital leader in financial transactions done digitally. And this again is thanks to the big push that Prime Minister Modi gave UPI in the years after 2016.
Here is a man who dared to dream big, because India is a country of a size of 1.4 billion people that needs leaders who can imagine big initiatives and can implement them on a scale. I am particularly delighted that I was tasked with the responsibility of writing a chapter on thinking big and executing in scale.
How do you deliver female empowerment? Is through sanitation. And the whole toilet program, providing toilets for every house, was a major campaign, a very, very successful campaign.
As economists, we generally keep our focus on a few macro indicators. But if you look at the real economy of India, bringing down open defecation or giving access to over 100 million toilets within the first 4 or 5 years of governance, I think has been one of the biggest achievements of Prime Minister Modi.
I tried to decode how and why Modi is winning elections continuously for 20 years with 3 assembly and 2 general elections with full majority. In fact, he never sat on opposition benches. Over the years of my election study suggests winning elections means winning the heart of the people, and it cannot be fake. Let's try to understand the Modi magic, the art and the science behind it.
With prosperity and safety, with opportunity and support, with one and all for development, Shri Narendra Modi's 20 years in public office have been nothing less than an epoch-making tenure. With each passing day, his commitment to uplift the people of India across caste, creed, sect and religion only strengthens and continues to be the beacon that guides 1.3 billion Indians to greater heights. Modi at 20, dreams meets delivery. It's an important chronicle of our times. It is now available in all retail outlets and all online platforms. This book is now yours to ignite debates and discussions. Happy reading.
धन्यवाद। और अब मैं उद्बोधन के लिए भारत के माननीय विदेश मंत्री श्री एस जयशंकर जी से अनुरोध करती हूं कि वो आएं और अपने विचार साझा करें।
Respected Vice President, Honorable Home Minister, dear colleagues, fellow authors, friends. It's a great privilege to be a contributor to this volume that marks 20 years in government of Shri Narendra Modi ji. I have obviously contributed on the foreign policy impact that he's had over the last 8 years. And in doing so, tried to trace the influence of his Gujarat years on his foreign policy. And what I present really from the analysis of these 8 years are the new concepts, the aspirations, the vision, the strategy that he has brought to bear in this domain. Perhaps the right starting point for my remarks today would be my first encounter with him. And this was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, November 2011. I was ambassador in China, and he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, visiting China, as many Chief Ministers did at that time. And we were used in the embassy to Chief Ministers. But this one was very different. It was very different because he arrived after midnight. He wanted his first briefing meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning. He ran a 12-hour day with a half-an-hour lunch break. And he proceeded to cover 3 cities, I think, in 4 days. And of course, today, this is standard operating procedure for all of us. But at that time, it was a discovery. And it wasn't just the grueling schedule which I recall from that visit. He did something very unusual as Chief Minister. He asked me to brief him on our security posture vis-a-vis China. At that time, we were having problems. Some of you may recall stapled visas, border map projections, and the terrorism. And the point he made was, I may be Chief Minister of Gujarat, but I'm a citizen of India. When I go outside, I will not be 1 millimeter different from what is our national stance. The second was, again, Chief Ministers typically come to promote their states, but he was worried about the economic imbalance between India and China. And the third recollection I have, 11 years ago, we had some Indian citizens, they happened to be jewelers from Gujarat, who were in prison in China at that time. And he was very concerned about getting them released. Now, I remember those 3 aspects because in a way, I would say they were my first outline of what his thinking was about foreign policy. And today, when I look at what is the difference that he has made, he has really led a foreign policy which is much more security focused. He has practiced a diplomacy which is more development focused. He has created people-centric policies in foreign policy. And he has run a foreign policy of a civilizational state. So let me very quickly fast forward 8 years and run through each of these 4 themes. National security emphasis. The 8 years of Modi Sarkar has brought terrorism fair square at the center of the global debate. And he has concentrated on developing the border infrastructure because he knows that is essential to meet our security challenges. So it could be Uri and Balakut, it could be Doklam and Ladakh. But you can see today, this is not a country that shies away from its hard security challenges. Let me talk about diplomacy for development. I think if you look in terms of his efforts to get capital, technology, best practices from the world, the interest that he takes in trade, he actually addressed every one of our embassies in pursuit of a goal of reaching $400 billion of exports. The effort which he makes to move funds so that their investment in India generates employment. When he goes abroad, he looks at railways, he looks at EVs, he looks at environment, green projects, with a view of what is it he can take back to India. So it is very much that quest for development is very much at the heart of what he does abroad. As for being people-centric, I think each one of you will know how much easier it is today to get a passport, how he has cut through layers of bureaucracy, made it so much simpler. How he actually imagined that we would use post offices who in this day and age were less relevant, as passport collection centers. A very good example actually of minimum government, maximum governance. And in terms of the people centricity, I think you saw the Vande Bharat mission during the COVID. Operation Ganga, which was referred to, Operation Devi Shakti, that today an Indian going abroad knows that we have their back. That in whatever situation of distress, we are there for them. And that is a huge change in the country's profile, in the confidence that citizens have about us, and in the view that the world has about us. And this is also reflected in his diaspora policies, in his Diaspora Connect, beginning with Madison Square Garden. In fact, in my chapter, I describe what was the conversation we had, which led to the Madison Square Garden program. And our effort today at migration and mobility agreements so that our people can work abroad, because Prime Minister Modi sees the world not just as a marketplace, but as a global workplace. And a lot of his foreign policy efforts are in that direction. And finally, the cultural side. I think the projection of India, I think he's a quintessentially Indian persona who is today, his presence on the world stage, I think, projects India in a manner that is very difficult to describe. But it is reflected in initiatives on the International Day of Yoga, on the propagation of Ayurveda. In fact, even on an assertion that we are not just followers of democracy, we are actually owners of democracy. In many ways, we are founders of democracy. It is deep in our culture. Our pluralism is actually one of the traditions, one of the histories on the basis of which democracy has developed. So these, to my mind, are the big changes which have happened, as I said, not just in these 8 years, but in the years preceding those where they struck roots. But I also see them reflected in greater conceptual clarity, in the idea of a non-reciprocal generous neighborhood policy, in the idea of a ocean space, a Sagar policy, where we are the first responders, in extended neighborhoods, whether it is the Gulf, Southeast Asia, or Central Asia, in an independent and confident posture in the world, where we can engage all the major powers on our terms, knowing our interests and getting our outcomes. and in expanding our global footprint. I can also assert with a great deal of evidence that he has shaped global agenda. Again, some of it goes back to the Gujarat years, the interest in solar, for example, which has led to the Solar Alliance today. His earthquake recovery efforts, which has created the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. His emphasis on putting black money, terrorism, digital, SDGs on the global agenda. So here is a Prime Minister who has actually propagated and practiced a policy of India first. India first, not as India versus the world, but India first with India at the center of his perspective and his outlook. And that is his ability actually to harmonize India and the world is exactly what led him to undertake the Vaccine Maitri initiative. So to sum up, the chapter that I have in the book actually lays out what I would say is the paradox of Narendra Modi. A visionary, but a person of great detail. A culturally steeped person, very deep in our heritage, but a great modernizer. A very strong nationalist, but a very believing internationalist. So, as they said, happy reading.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय विदेश मंत्री जी। और अब मैं भारत के गृह और सहकारिता मंत्री माननीय श्री अमित शाह जी से हमें संबोधित करने का अनुरोध करती हूं।
भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति महामहिम श्रीमान वेंकैया जी, मोदी जी की मंत्रिपरिषद में मेरे साथी विदेश मंत्री श्रीमान जयशंकर जी, आज ये महत्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित सभी भाइयों और बहनों, मोदी एट 20 ड्रीम मीट डिलीवरी। आज मोदी जी के साथ जिन्होंने सालों तक काम किया है, ऐसे भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति वेंकैया जी के हाथों से इसका लोकार्पण होने वाला है। मैंने पुस्तक को बारीकी से देखा है। मैं इतना ही कह सकता हूं कि जो लोग भारत के सर्वांगीण और सर्वसमावेशी विकास में विश्वास करते हैं, जो लोग एक संपूर्ण व्यक्तित्व किस तरह से निर्मित हो इसके रास्ते पर विश्वास करते हैं, ये सभी लोगों के लिए, विशेषकर समाज सेवा और राजनीति के क्षेत्र में काम करने वाले सभी लोगों के लिए ये पुस्तक एक गीता बनकर आने वाले दिनों में उभरने वाला है। मैं आज इस पुस्तक के अंदर जो अलग अलग चैप्टर लिखे गए हैं इसके बारे में बात नहीं करना चाहता, परंतु पुस्तक जिन पर है इनके बारे में बात करना चाहता हूं। जिस प्रकार का ऑडियंस मेरे सामने है, इन्होंने नरेंद्र मोदी जी को 20 साल से जाना है, देखा है, मोदी जी की सफलताओं को देखा है, मोदी जी के 20 साल हेड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट के नाते भारत में और गुजरात में जिस तरह से परिवर्तन आया है इसको सभी ने देखा है। परंतु मैं राजनीतिक शास्त्र के विद्यार्थी के नाते ये जरूर कहना चाहता हूं कि इसके पीछे जाना चाहिए। मोदी जी के 20 साल का अनुभव, मोदी जी के इसके पहले के 30 साल का जब तक अध्ययन नहीं करते वो अधूरा रह जाएगा। मोदी जी के 5 दशक का सार्वजनिक जीवन एक बिल्कुल गरीबी के आंगन में से उठकर देश के प्रधानमंत्री बनने तक की सफर, एक छोटे से कार्यकर्ता से लेकर
सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों में सबसे लोकप्रिय नेतृत्व बनने तक की सफर और कभी पंचायत के सदस्य न रहे हुए व्यक्ति आज पूरा विश्व जिसका नेतृत्व स्वीकार करता है, ऐसे भारत के प्रधानमंत्री बनने तक की सफर। अगर इसको समझना है तो आगे के 30 साल में जरूर जाना। मोदी जी के आगे के 30 साल 3 दशक संगठन के अंदर गुजरे। संगठन के कार्यकर्ता के नाते छोटे से छोटे गांव में कभी एसटी बस पर, कभी मोटरसाइकिल पर, कभी ऑटो में बैठकर गरीब से गरीब घर के अंदर इतनी ही साहसिकता से खाना खाते हुए मैंने मोदी जी को देखा है। और जो हम सब लोगों के लिए कुट प्रश्न है कि समस्याओं को समझने का इतनी बड़ी शक्ति मोदी जी में कहां से आती है। नीति निर्धारण करते वक्त छोटे से छोटे व्यक्ति के लिए नीति हो, ये आग्रह कहां से आता है। और नीति सर्वसमावेशी हो, सर्वस्पर्शी हो, ये कुनेह कहां से आती है, उसका जवाब वो 30 साल के अंदर है। पहला हिस्सा उनका जीवन का परिश्रम, संवेदना, संवेदनाओं के साथ समस्याओं को समझना, समस्याओं का विश्लेषण करना और विश्लेषण के आधार पर समस्या का समाधान ढूंढना। ये प्रक्रिया 30 साल चलती है, तब जाकर एक नरेंद्र मोदी सफल मुख्यमंत्री बनता है। लोगों की गरीबी, लोगों की समस्याएं, समाज के अंदर फैली अव्यवस्थाएं, लोकतंत्र के प्रति लोगों का उठता विश्वास, ये देखकर अगर दिल में टीस खड़ी नहीं होती है, एक दर्द खड़ा नहीं होता है, तो दर्द जब तक खड़ा नहीं होता है कोई नरेंद्र मोदी नहीं बन पाता है। ये संवेदनशील स्वभाव उनका जो है, इसी में से ये टीस की निर्मित, ये दर्द की निर्मित होती है और उसी में से सभी समस्याओं का समाधान निकला है। भारत के जनमानस को समझना, भारत की समस्याओं को समझना, भारत के समाज की सांस्कृतिक विविधताओं को समझना और समझते समझते भारत की संस्कृति पर अमाप गौरव का दिल में अकल्पनीय स्थान पैदा करना और समस्याओं के समाधान की दिशा में सोचना, इन्होंने एक प्रक्रिया ने ही मोदी जी को आज इस स्थान पर बिठाया है। 20 साल से मोदी जी ने कई उपलब्धियां हासिल की है। ढेर सारे लोगों ने इनका एनालिसिस भी किया है। खास कर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए और गवर्नेंस के लिए मोदी जी ने जो उपलब्धियां हासिल की है, इसका मूल्यांकन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से किया है। मगर मैं एक बात कहना चाहता हूं, एक ऐसे व्यक्ति का मूल्यांकन आप कर रहे हो जिसको मुख्यमंत्री बनने से पहले पंचायत चलाने का भी अनुभव नहीं था। मोदी जी जब मुख्यमंत्री बने उसके पहले कोई चुनाव नहीं लड़े थे, पंचायत के सदस्य भी नहीं थे। और ऐसे व्यक्ति को अचानक भूकंप से पीड़ित एक राज्य का मुख्यमंत्री बना दिया जाता है और उस वक्त बार बार चुनकर आना और इतना यशस्वी तरीके से गवर्नेंस करना, ये बहुत बड़ी अपने आप में उपलब्धि। में ये बात इसलिए कहता हूं कि मूल्यांकन के पैरामीटर्स तय होने चाहिए। गुजरात के अंदर सर्वसमावेशी और सर्वस्पर्शीय विकास हुआ, वो मोदी जी का व्यक्तित्व का परिचय कराता है। गरीबी से गुजरे हुए बचपन के कारण गरीब आदमी की कठिनाइयों और उसकी दिक्कतों से मोदी जी भली भांति परिचित थे। उन्होंने मुख्यमंत्री बनने के बाद संवेदनशील तरीके से समाज के अंतिम व्यक्ति के लिए योजनाएं कैसे बन सकती है और योजनाओं को बनाकर अंतिम व्यक्ति तक किस तरह से पहुंचा जा सकता है, इसका एक उत्कृष्ट उदाहरण लोगों के सामने दिया है। मित्रों, योजनाओं के बारे में मैं जरूर थोड़ी बात करना चाहूंगा। मोदी जी की योजनाओं का अनेक प्रकार का विश्लेषण हो सकता है, मगर उन्होंने योजनाओं को लोकाभिमुख बनाया। गुजरात के कृषि महोत्सव के मॉडल का जो स्टडी करेगा उसको मालूम पड़ेगा कि परिवर्तन किस प्रकार से आता है। गुजरात के कृषि महोत्सव की परंपरा ने सिद्ध कर दिया कि लोकतंत्र को जवाबदेह, लोकतंत्र में एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को जवाबदेह बनाया जा सकता है। हर गांव में कृषि महोत्सव का रथ पहुंचता था और जो सरकारी मदद लेने के लिए किसानों को तहसील लेवल पर और जिला लेवल पर बार बार जाना पड़ता था, वो सरकारी मदद उन्हीं के गांव के अंदर पहुंचाने की शुरुआत एक कृषि महोत्सव ने की। तो उन्होंने योजनाओं को लोकाभिमुख बनाया। मोदी जी ने योजनाओं के साइज और स्केल दोनों को बदलने का काम किया और योजनाओं को संपूर्ण समस्या के उन्मूलन की दिशा में प्रेरित किया। जैसे पहले योजनाएं बनती थी, इस बजट में इतने गांवों के अंदर बिजली पहुंचाएंगे, इस बजट में इतने घरों के अंदर बिजली पहुंचाएंगे, इस बजट में इतने शौचालय बनाएंगे, इस बजट में इतने लोगों को स्वास्थ्य कार्ड देंगे। मोदी जी की योजनाओं का अगर आप स्टडी करेंगे तो अब संख्या नहीं होती है, समस्या का संपूर्ण उन्मूलन होता है। देश में हर घर में बिजली पहुंचाएंगे, देश में हर घर में आज शौचालय पहुंचाएंगे, देश के हर घर में गैस का सिलेंडर पहुंचाएंगे, देश के हर घर में पीने का पानी नल से पहुंचाएंगे। समस्याओं का संपूर्ण उन्मूलन ये उनकी योजनाओं का विशेषता रहा और एक दृष्टि से साइज और स्केल दोनों को मोदी जी ने परिवर्तित किया है। उन्होंने कई प्रकार की योजनाओं को इस प्रकार से लिया कि समग्र क्षेत्र को आप समग्र क्षेत्र का सुधार कर सके। मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण गुजरात के शिक्षा व्यवस्था के लिए उन्होंने किया, इसका कहना चाहता हूं। जब गुजरात में मोदी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने तब हमारा ड्रॉप आउट रेशियो 42% था और एनरोलमेंट 68% था। मोदी जी ने बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ योजना कार्यक्रम हाथ में लिया, इससे एनरोलमेंट 100% हुआ और ड्रॉप आउट रेशियो 1% से भी नीचे चला गया। एक प्रकार से समस्या का संपूर्ण समाधान की दिशा में उनके कार्यक्रम भी बने, योजनाएं भी बनी। इसके बाद क्वालिटी सुधारने के लिए गुणोत्सव का आयोजन किया और आज मैं कह सकता हूं, कोई क्रेडिट लेने के लिए कुछ भी बोले, गुजरात की प्राइमरी एजुकेशन पूरे देश के लिए मॉडल है और गुजरात के अंदर ये परिवर्तन मोदी जी ने किया। और हम कई बार मोदी जी के कार्यक्रमों को पिसमिल टुकड़ों में देखते हैं और इसका एनालिसिस करते हैं, कोई आर्टिकल दिखता है, कोई इस पर बोलता है, मगर समस्त समस्या के समाधान के लिए जो आयोजन है, मैं भारत सरकार में उनके मंत्री बनने के बाद स्वास्थ्य के लिए उन्होंने जो अनेक कार्यक्रम कड़ीबद्ध रूप से लयबद्ध तरीके से बनाए हैं, इसके बारे में जरूर कहना चाहूंगा। सबसे पहले उन्होंने स्वच्छता अभियान जो शुरू किया, जो स्वास्थ्य के साथ सीधा जुड़ा हुआ है, हर घर में टॉयलेट पहुंचाया, साफ सफाई के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा अभियान शुरू हुआ और स्वच्छता की संस्कृति को पुनर्जीवित किया। फिट इंडिया का मूवमेंट चलाया, वो भी स्वास्थ्य के लिए जुड़ा है। योग दिन और योग का महत्व पूरी दुनिया और देश में प्रस्तावित किया, वो भी स्वास्थ्य के साथ जुड़ा है। पोषण अभियान को उन्होंने महत्व दिया, वो भी बच्चे की इम्यूनिटी, माता की इम्यूनिटी के साथ रिलेटेड अभियान है। इसके बाद प्रोटेक्टिव तरीके से कुछ योजनाएं बनाई, जैसे मिशन इंद्रधनुष, आयुष्मान भारत। ये दोनों योजनाओं ने बच्चों को सुरक्षित करना और हर व्यक्ति को 5 लाख तक की सभी स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं फ्री मिले। देश के 60 करोड़ लोगों के दिमाग पर से, उनके सर पर से स्वास्थ्य का पूरा बोझ हटाने का काम किया। उसके बाद में एक सीरीज ऑफ वेलनेस सेंटर बनाए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्कीम लेकर आए, जिसके तहत देश का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ा और मेडिकल कॉलेज की स्थापना का उन्होंने जो परंपरा किया, थ्रस्ट दिया, इसके कारण मैं एक ही आंकड़ा कहना चाहता हूं कि आज भारत में यूजी और पीजी दोनों क्षेत्रों में हम 2 गुना डॉक्टर बाहर हर साल बाहर आए, इस प्रकार की स्थिति पर पहुंचे। तो स्वास्थ्य के क्षेत्र में सभी योजनाओं को कोई पिसमिल देखेगा तो उसका मूल्यांकन नहीं कर पाएगा, परंतु अगर आप उसको एक कड़ी में रखकर देखेंगे, एक बहुत बड़ी श्रृंखला की लड़ी के रूप में देखेंगे, तो आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कितनी धैर्य के साथ सोचकर शुरू से योजना बनाई गई है और 8 साल के अंदर हर साल एक चीज जुड़ती गई और समस्या का संपूर्ण समाधान की दिशा में हम आगे बढ़े हैं। नीतियों के निर्धारण के लिए एक ऐसी सरकार के बाद मोदी जी की सरकार आई जिसको कहते थे कि पॉलिसी पैरालिसिस वाली सरकार थी। मोदी जी ने 8 साल में नीतियां कैसे निर्धारित हो सकती है, इसके लिए ढेर सारा दुनिया के सामने स्टडी करने का मटेरियल उपलब्ध कराया है। मैं बहुत सारी बात नहीं करना चाहता, परंतु कुछ नीतियों की जरूर बात करना। भारत ने कभी भी अंतरिक्ष के लिए अपनी नीति बनाने का सोचा नहीं था। मोदी जी ने अंतरिक्ष की नीति बनाकर आज एक बहुत बड़ा बाजार भारत के लिए खुला है और मैं पूरे भरोसे से कहता हूं कि इस क्षेत्र में भी भारत ग्लोबल लीडर बनने जा रहा है। ड्रोन की पॉलिसी देश में थी ही नहीं, अपार संभावनाएं पड़ी, परंतु ड्रोन की पॉलिसी नहीं थी। पढ़े लिखे युवा भी थे, 130 करोड़ का मार्केट भी था और देश अब आधुनिकता को स्वीकारने के लिए, नई चीजों को स्वीकारने के लिए तैयार भी बैठा है, मगर पॉलिसी के बगैर नहीं हो सकता था। ड्रोन पॉलिसी बनाकर एक नया बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस का स्पेस खोलने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है। औद्योगिक प्रोत्साहनों की योजना को पीएलआई के अंदर अलग प्रकार से रखने का काम किया। स्वास्थ्य मैंने आगे बताया ही है, हेल्थ को बहुत मजबूती के साथ एक ठोस आधार प्रदान करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया। मित्रों, मैं शिक्षा नीति पर जरूर कहना चाहूंगा। नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, मैं बहुत आशान्वित हूं इस पॉलिसी से। मैंने बहुत बारीकी से इसका अध्ययन किया है। अब तक जितनी भी नेशनल पॉलिसी आई, उन्होंने बच्चों के रोजगार की चिंता की थी। ये नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी ने बच्चों की क्षमता को बढ़ाने के लिए थ्रस्ट दिया। व्यक्ति की कैपेसिटी, व्यक्ति की क्षमता अगर नहीं बढ़ती है तो वो बड़ा आदमी नहीं बन सकता। इन नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी को आप बारीकी से देखोगे तो हर बच्चे की क्षमताओं को, अनंत संभावनाएं जो ईश्वर ने हमारे अंदर भरी पड़ी है, उसको 100% बाहर लाने का एक प्लेटफॉर्म देने का काम नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी ने किया है। और ढेर सारे शिक्षा शास्त्रियों ने बनाई हुई नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी भी, ये भी वैसे शिक्षा शास्त्रियों ने ही बनाया है, परंतु हर नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी विवाद में पड़ी है। मोदी जी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के प्रधानमंत्री होने के बावजूद भी जो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी लेकर आए, इस पर एक भी विरोध का सुर आज पूरे देश और दुनिया में सुनाई नहीं। इसका कारण है नीति बनाते वक्त गहराइयों के साथ जड़ से समस्या के समाधान के बारे में सोचने का मोदी जी का स्वभाव है। एग्रीकल्चर के अंदर भी ढेर सारे परिवर्तन हुए हैं और स्टार्टअप से लेकर कुछ इस प्रकार की पॉलिसी जो हुई है जिसमें हमारे देश के युवा को विश्व के युवा के साथ कंपटीशन करने का प्लेटफॉर्म, मंच मोदी जी ने उपलब्ध कराया है। मित्रों, ये पूरी चीजें इसलिए हो सकती है कि मोदी जी के कुछ व्यक्तिगत गुणों के बारे में भी मैं जरूर बात करना चाहता हूं। मोदी जी से बड़ा श्रोता मैंने देखा नहीं है मेरे जीवन में। मैं 40 साल से काम करता हूं, ढेर सारे नेताओं के संपर्क में भी आया हूं। मोदी जी से बड़ा श्रोता कोई नहीं है और सुनते भी एकाग्रता के साथ है। आप शायद बोलकर निकल जाओगे, भूल जाओगे, मगर 5 साल के बाद वो कहेंगे, नहीं भाई पहले तो आपने ये कहा था, अब ये कह रहे हो, क्या हो गया? तब जाकर आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि मैं पहले ये बोला था। बहुत धैर्य के साथ सुनना, ये बहुत बड़ा उनका गुण है। दूसरी बात, एक अंग्रेजी कहावत है, ब्लड इज थिकर देन वाटर। व्यक्ति अपने आसपास का ही सोचता है, अपने परिवारजनों का ही सोचता है, परिवार के बाद समाज का सोचता है। यहां पर उल्टा है, उन्होंने कहावत को गलत साबित कर दिया है। इन्होंने समाज को ही अपना परिवार मानकर आगे बढ़े हैं। देश की राजनीति में ऐसा नेता दूरबीन लेकर भी ढूंढ नहीं पाते जिसके परिवार को कोई जानता ही न हो, परिवार के किसी व्यक्ति का नाम कहीं पर किसी ने सुना न हो। तो ब्लड इज थिकर देन वाटर, ये कहावत को मोदी जी ने गलत साबित किया है। उनकी सोच की दिशा उद्योग दिशा है। वो हमेशा रचनात्मक तरीके से सोचते हैं, वो हमेशा उच्च लक्ष्यों की ओर सोचते हैं और वो हमेशा सबसे ज्यादा परिणाम लाने की सोचते हैं। ये उद्योगति की सोच ने इस देश के अंदर बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन किया है। संवेदनशीलता, छोटे से छोटे व्यक्ति के बारे में सोचना। देश के प्रधानमंत्री के नाते मैं एक छोटी सी चीज का उदाहरण कहना चाहता हूं। एक बहुत गंभीर मीटिंग चल रही थी, उस वक्त मैं पार्टी का अध्यक्ष था। मोदी जी की ऑफिस में मीटिंग चल रही थी। एक मयूर आया और उसने कांच की दीवार पर जोर से अपनी चोंच मारना शुरू कर दिया। 2-3 मिनट तक ये प्रक्रिया चली। मोदी जी ने घंटी बजाई, किसी को बुलाया और कहा कि भाई इसका दाना आज नहीं डाला गया है, जरा चिंता करो, ये भूखा है। देश के प्रधानमंत्री को ये सोच, इतनी बड़ी मीटिंग में आना, ये बताता है कि कितने संवेदनशील व्यक्ति है। अनन्य राष्ट्रभक्ति। मित्रों, मैंने मोदी जी के साथ सालों से काम किया है। मैं बेरोक टोक किसी झिझक के बगैर कह सकता हूं, हर सोच में देश की सोच सबसे ऊपर और सबसे ज्यादा होती है। और इसीलिए आज 130 करोड़ की आबादी के मन में विश्वास है, जब देश की शताब्दी मनाई जाएगी हम एक महान भारत को देख पाएंगे। ये जो आत्मविश्वास 130 करोड़ में प्रत्यारोपित करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी कर पाए हैं, क्योंकि उनके खुद के अंदर अनन्य राष्ट्रभक्ति से कूट कूट कर ईश्वर ने उनको बनाया है। मित्रों, और प्रामाणिकता, पारदर्शिता, इसके बारे में मोदी जी के विरोधी भी उन पर कोई आरोप नहीं कर सकते। नीतियों की निर्धारण के लिए कभी जल्दबाजी नहीं करते हैं, मगर उसके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में, उसको लागू करने में इनकी जो दृढ़ता है, ये दृढ़ता अच्छों को आश्चर्यचकित करने वाली। मैं कई बार अचंभित रह सकता हूं, इतने विरोध के बावजूद भी कैसे कोई आदमी डट कर रह सकता है जब कोई 6 महीने के बाद वोट लेने के लिए जाना है। मैंने उनकी नीतियों के लिए एक शब्द प्रयोग किया है कि मोदी जी की सरकार लोगों को अच्छा लगे ऐसा फैसला नहीं लेती है। मोदी जी की सरकार लोगों को अच्छा लगे ऐसे फैसले नहीं लेती है। मोदी जी की सरकार लोगों के लिए अच्छे हो ऐसे फैसले लेती है। वोट के लिए राजनीति नहीं करना। व्यापकता बहुत है। हर सोच के अंदर आप व्यापक दृष्टिकोण का अनुभव करते हो। दलित, आदिवासी, गरीब और पिछड़ों के लिए अथाह प्रेम, अथाह संवेदनशीलता और उनके कल्याण के लिए सदैव समर्पित रहना, ये उनकी सोच की विशेषता है। आर्थिक सुधार और टेक्नोलॉजी को भारत के अनुरूप बनाकर भारत सरकार में लाने का काम सबसे पहले देश में अगर किसी व्यक्ति ने किया है तो नरेंद्र मोदी ने किया है। मैं फिर से एक बार कहना चाहता हूं, टेक्नोलॉजी और आर्थिक सुधारों को भारतीय वातावरण और भारतीय जरूरियातों के अनुरूप सांचे में ढालकर सरकार के अंदर प्रस्थापित करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने दिया है। ये व्यापकता का अनुभव अगर किसी को करना है तो सुरक्षा के मामले में आज सोमवार को मोदी जी के विचार सुन सकते हैं, मंगलवार को ग्लोबल वार्मिंग पर भी सुन सकते हैं। महिला कल्याण पर बात करते हुए इतनी ही तन्मयता से बात करेंगे, पोषण अभियान के लिए बात करेंगे तो तुरंत स्टार्टअप पर ही इतनी विशदता के साथ वो बात करेंगे। गरीब कल्याण और नई शिक्षा नीति, आरोग्य और विदेश नीति। विदेश नीति के अंदर मैं जरूर कहना चाहता हूं, वैसे जयशंकर जी की उपस्थिति में कहना मुश्किल है क्योंकि मेरा नजरिया थोड़ा अलग प्रकार का होता है। परंतु भारत की विदेश नीति और भारत की रक्षा नीति के बीच में बड़ी घालमेल चल रही थी। कभी भारत की रक्षा नीति विदेश नीति की परछाई से बाहर नहीं आ सकती थी। मोदी जी की विदेश नीति ने प्रस्तावित कर दिया कि हम सबके साथ दोस्ती रखना चाहते हैं, मगर हमारे लिए भारत की सुरक्षा ये हमारा प्राथमिक लक्ष्य है। ये स्पष्टता, इतनी क्लैरिटी के साथ 7 दशक के अंदर किसी भी नेता ने दिए नहीं। मित्रों, खुद के लिए काम करने वाले नेता जब काम करते हैं तो अपने नाम के लिए करते हैं, अपने कार्यकाल में बहुत कुछ अच्छा हो इसके लिए करते हैं। एक दृष्टि से मोदी जी के लिए भी बहुत सारे लोग ऐसा कह सकते हैं क्योंकि इनके कार्यकाल में बहुत सारी अच्छाइयां हुई, मगर मोदी जी जब आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव का प्लान लेकर आए तब उनको कोई ऐसा नहीं कह सकता, इसलिए क्योंकि आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव मोदी जी की उपस्थिति में हो रहा है। उन्होंने अमृत महोत्सव से शताब्दी तक के काल को अमृत काल और संकल्प सिद्धि का काल कर 25 साल के बाद महान भारत की रचना उसका लक्ष्य रखकर ये साबित कर दिया है कि ये व्यक्ति केवल और केवल भारत की महानता के लिए सोचता है। मित्रों, कोई पारिवारिक बैकग्राउंड के बगैर, कोई अकस्मात के बगैर, कोई राजनीतिक उठापटक के बगैर एक व्यक्ति जनता का मैंडेट लेकर प्रधानमंत्री बनता है। बार बार चुनाव में जनता उनको अनुमोदन करती है और उसके बाद में वो फिर से एक बार प्रधानमंत्री बनकर आता है, तब स्वीकारना पड़ेगा कि भारत की जनता ने मोदी जी को स्वीकारा है। भारत की जनता मोदी जी को मन से प्यार करती है। मोदी जी ने आजादी के बाद हमारे पूरे देश के नेता भाषा की लघुता ग्रंथि से पीड़ित होते थे। उनको लगता था कि हिंदी में बोलने से मेरे लिए क्या सोचेंगे, और विशेषकर ऐसे ऑडियंस के अंदर मोदी जी ने धड़ल्ले से दुनिया भर में हिंदी का प्रयोग कर ये बता दिया कि भाषा किसी व्यक्ति के गुणों का परिचायक नहीं हो सकती, भाषा अभिव्यक्ति है। व्यक्ति कितना क्षमतावान है वो भाषा पर से निर्धारित नहीं हो सकता, भाषा तो केवल अभिव्यक्ति है। और उन्होंने नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के अंदर भारतीय भाषाओं को एक नया आयुष्य देने का और बढ़ावा देने का काम किया है। इसके लिए मैं उनको लाख लाख साधुवाद दूंगा। उन्होंने जनता का भरोसा जीता है। कोरोना काल था, सब लोग लॉकडाउन में अंदर थे, मैं गृह मंत्रालय जा रहा था, बाहर एक माई खड़ी थी तो मैंने गाड़ी रोक दी रकाबगंज गुरुद्वारा के सामने और पूछा, माई कोरोना का डर नहीं लगता, क्यों निकले हैं आप? उन्होंने कहा, कुछ काम से बाहर आई हूं, मगर मोदी है ना, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है। और मित्रों, शास्त्री जी के बाद मैंने पहली बार देखा कि कोई व्यक्ति कोई भी सरकारी आदेश के बगैर ये कह दे कि हम 24 घंटा बाहर नहीं निकलेंगे, हम आज दिया जलाएंगे, हम आज घंटी बजाएंगे, हम हमारे कोरोना वॉरियर का स्वागत करेंगे। और पूरा देश एक नेता के कहने पर अपने आप को घर में बंद कर ले, ऐसी स्वीकृति शायद ही किसी नेता के भाग्य में नहीं। ये भरोसा जो बना है वो कर्तृत्ववान जीवन के कारण बना है। ये जो भरोसा बना है ये निस्वार्थ जीवन के कारण बना है। ये भरोसा जो बना है अनन्य राष्ट्रभक्ति पर लोगों ने भरोसा किया है। इसीलिए मोदी जी आज देश के बिन विवादास्पद देता है और दुनिया भी उनको स्वीकार करती है। मेरी पार्टी की भी मैं जरूर बात करना चाहूंगा। पार्टी के अंदर कई प्रकार के नेता होते हैं, हर पार्टी में होते हैं, मगर संगठन और सरकार दोनों में यशस्वी तरीके से काम करने वाले एकमात्र नेता श्री नरेंद्र मोदी हैं, जिन्होंने संगठन को भी ऊंचाइयों तक ले गए। जब महासचिव थे तब संगठन पर्व, हमारे पार्टी के चुनावों को संगठन पर्व नाम दिया, सदस्यता अभियान चलाया, सदस्यता पहली बार डॉक्यूमेंटेशन गुजरात में करने का काम किया, उसको बूथ वाइज करने का काम किया और एक अभेद शक्ति, अजय शक्ति संगठन की उन्होंने बनाने का काम किया। उनके नेतृत्व में पार्टी दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी बनी, सबसे ज्यादा राज्यों में काम करने वाली पार्टी बनी और कई प्रकार के मिथक जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए चलाते थे कि हिंदी भाषियों की पार्टी है, हम गुजरात से लेकर नॉर्थ ईस्ट तक, आसाम से लेकर मणिपुर तक कई राज्यों में जब सरकार बनाए ये मिथक टूट गया। वो कहते थे अर्बन पार्टी थे, गांवों के अंदर भी अप्रत्याशी एक के बाद एक विजय जब मिलना शुरू हुए, ये मिथक को भी हमने तोड़ दिया। ये कहते थे कि किसानों की पार्टी नहीं है, ढेर सारे कोऑपरेटिव्स और स्थानीय इकाइयों के चुनाव में जब किसानों ने भारतीय जनता पार्टी को चुनकर भेजा, तब ये सिद्ध हो गया कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी पूर्व, पश्चिम, उत्तर, दक्षिण और हर समाज के वर्ग की पार्टी है। वो भी मोदी जी की नेतृत्व में ही हुआ है। मोदी जी ने पार्टी को यह वैश्विक पहचान देने का काम किया है। और मित्रों, जब आपको सर्वश्रेष्ठ देना होता है तो खुद को समर्पित करना होता है। मोदी जी ने अपना सर्वश्रेष्ठ दिया भी है और खुद को समर्पित भी किया है। मैं अंतिम एक बात कहकर मेरी बात को समाप्त करूंगा। मोदी जी का कोई मुझे कहेगा कि सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि क्या है, इनके 50 साल के सार्वजनिक जीवन का सबसे बड़ा उपलब्धि क्या है। मित्रों, मैं समाज जीवन के अंदर बहुत कम उम्र से डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम, इलेक्शन और हमारी डेमोक्रेटिक परंपराओं का विद्यार्थी रहा हूं। 2012 में, 2014 में और 12 से 14 के बीच में एक ऐसा कालखंड आया था कि पूरे देश की श्रद्धा हमारी मल्टी पार्टी पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम पर से उठ गई थी। लोग सोचने लगे थे कि व्यवस्था फेल हो चुकी है, ये व्यवस्था देश को आगे नहीं ले जा सकती है। उस वक्त मोदी जी को भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हमारे प्रधानमंत्री पद का प्रत्याशी बनाया। उन्होंने भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नेतृत्व किया। जनता ने गुजरात के उनके गवर्नेंस के बैकग्राउंड पर उनको देश का नेता चुना, प्रधानमंत्री बनाया और अब आज हमारी जनता के अंदर कोई असमंजस नहीं है कि हमारी मल्टी पार्टी डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम डिलीवर कर सकती है या नहीं कर सकती है। उन्होंने लोकतंत्र के प्रति सबकी आस्थाओं को पाताल तक गहरी पहुंचाने का काम किया है। ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है। आज हम सब यहाँ पर एक राष्ट्रीय नेता, एक लोकप्रिय नेता और एक वैश्विक नेता के जीवन का मीमांसा करने के लिए इकट्ठा हुए हैं, उनको जानने के लिए इकट्ठा हुए हैं। मगर मैं कह सकता हूं, शब्द या कोई पुस्तक इसका वर्णन नहीं कर सकता। उनको युवाओं ने विशेषकर ध्यान से देखना चाहिए और मोदी जी के रास्ते पर चलना है तो ढेर सारा परिश्रम की पराकाष्ठा और स्व को पिघाल कर काम करने की आदत डालेंगे, तभी इस रास्ते पर चल सकते हैं। मुझे बोलने का मौका देने के लिए प्रकाशक का धन्यवाद करता हूं। थोड़ा समय ज्यादा हुआ है, इसलिए महामहिम जी से क्षमा मांगकर मेरी बात को पूरा करता हूं। वंदे मातरम।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय अमित शाह जी। और अब मैं आज की सभा के मुख्य अतिथि माननीय उपराष्ट्रपति जी से अनुरोध करूंगी कि वो रिमोट का बटन दबाकर पर्दे पर मोदी एट 20 ड्रीम्स मीट डिलीवरी किताब का विमोचन करें। और हम मंच पर विराजमान अन्य मंच पर विराजमान अन्य गणमान्य अतिथियों से भी अनुरोध करते हैं कि वो इस पुस्तक का औपचारिक रूप से विमोचन कर हमें अनुग्रहित करें। धन्यवाद माननीय उपराष्ट्रपति जी, गृह और सहकारिता मंत्री जी, विदेश मंत्री जी और अन्य महानुभाव। और अब मैं निवेदन करूंगी इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य अतिथि माननीय उपराष्ट्रपति जी से कि वो सभा को संबोधित करने की कृपा करें।
आदरणीय केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री श्री अमित भाई शाह जी, विदेश मंत्री डॉक्टर एस जयशंकर जी, मंत्रीगण, संसदगण, अपने लेखों द्वारा इस पुस्तक में योगदान देने वाले प्रबुद्ध लेखगण, ब्लूक्राफ्ट डिजिटल फाउंडेशन का मुख्य कार्यकारी अधिकारी श्री अखिलेश मिश्रा जी, ब्लूक्राफ्ट डिजिटल फाउंडेशन के निर्देशक श्री हितेश जैन जी, रूपा पब्लिकेशन के मुख्य कार्यकारी अधिकारी श्री कपेश मेहरा जी, सम्मानित अतिथिगण, अधिकारीगण, मीडिया के मित्रों, बहनों और भाइयों, आज हम सब लोग देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के जीवन और कृतित्व पर आधारित इस पुस्तक का लोकार्पण हेतु आयोजन कर रहे कार्यक्रम में भाग ले रहे। मेरा मन में भी बहुत हार्दिक प्रसन्नता हो रही है। सचमुच में श्री मोदी जी एक ऐसी नेता है जिन्होंने विश्व के सामने ये साबित किया है कि सपनों का सिद्ध भी की जा सकते हैं, सपनों का साकार भी की जा सकता है। यह मेरा सौभाग्य है। इस पुस्तक में योगदान करने वाले अनेक विभूतियों आज इस अवसर पर हमारे बीच उपस्थित है। आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। My dear brothers and sisters, I feel very happy to be here amidst you all and also release this important publication about various aspects of personality and administration of our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Bhai Modi. After going through it, I can say these distinguished authors have contributed to this excellent publication in a well articulated manner so as to make the nation know about the great thoughts and deeds of the great man. I compliment each of these writers on their incisive analysis and cogent presentation. They have masterfully traced the contours of an iconic leader's fascinating journey of 20 years. It really was fascinating. I am not here to speak anything about politics. I am no longer in party politics. I am retired from politics but not tired from public life. That's why I am here and I am happy. Amit Bhai, being a politician, he can speak very freely about his party and his point of view. But I can't do it. I don't want to do it also because of my own responsibility. But I have no hesitation. The moment it was mentioned to me that such a book has been brought out and the publishers desired that I should release this without waiting for a minute, I said I shall do it. I'm happy to do it. And I'm doing it today because the nation, the people, the younger generation of the country, they should know the in and outs of the great contribution made by the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister of the country, elected Prime Minister. and elected each time with more majority. And the country today is happy that India is respected and recognized worldwide thanks to Narendra Modi's leadership. I had an occasion to work with him politically when I was in politics. I had an occasion to work with him in the administration when I was a minister. And also, I have been working along with him and other colleagues in my present capacity as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and also the Vice President of India. These experiences, they are really very happy somewhat, I can tell you, because it's a great pleasure to meet a person, know his thoughts and his actions. The book is very aptly named as Modi, 20 Dreams Meeting Delivery. This is what is important. Dreams meeting delivery. Because at the end of the day, delivery is more important. Delivery to the people. And this book aptly describes the various initiatives, thoughts, his vision, and its implementation and success of those dreams. This is what is more important. Anybody can dream. Some people do dreaming in daytime also. That is the pleasure they can derive. That's human. I don't find fault with anybody. I don't have anybody in my mind. Nothing wrong in dreaming. Dream high, aim high, work hard. That is what even Abdul Kalam ji said, dream high, aim high, work hard. Here is an example. A man who was having dreams about the country and its welfare, working hard day and night and delivering them. My dear youngsters who are all watching this program on television, I suggest to all of you, go through the book in detail, analyze and understand, and know the master craftsmanship of working hard. This book is a rare compilation that gives the readers a ringside view of the evolution of one of the most popular and iconic leaders of modern India. The first Prime Minister born after independence. After independence, he is born after independence. Like some of us. Sri Narendra Bhai, however, last 20 years, carved out a unique place in the history of post-independent India. Earlier for about 13 years as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, and over the last 8+ years as the Prime Minister. There is a Modi phenomenon. Even his detractors, opponents, agree that Modi is a phenomenon, whether you like it or not. He is a phenomenon. At the national level, even at the international level also, we are all seeing the reports that a person who has no earlier administrative experience, becoming a chief minister, doing a wonderful work, and then becoming a prime minister, and then in the international arena also, he is recognized, he is respected, India also is respected and recognized. This book presents different facets of the distinct thought process, the pioneering proactive approach, and the quite essential transformational leadership. The style that Narendra Bhai has come to be so closely identified with. He gave a 3-line mantra, and he lives up to the spirit of the mantra. He said, reform, perform, transform. transformation of the society, transformation of the individuals, and transformation of the nation. Transformation for what? Transformation to better the lives of the people of the country. This is the mantra, and he is living up to the mantra. Always thinking, always trying to improve, and always thinking about uplifting the poorest of the poor. This is what has made him more popular in the country. This publication certainly helps in decoding Sri Narendra Bhai Modi and helps understanding how he has the courage to dream big for the people of his country and the grit to translate these dreams into tangible reality, positively impacting the lives of crores of Indians. The experiential learning, experimental itself, the basis of Modi's vision. Book encompasses the experiential journey of Sri Narendra Bhai Modi since he left his house at the tender age of 17 years and set out on a mission of knowing himself, his country, and finally defining the mission of transforming India. Public life is a mission for him, and he never gave any remission or do any omission, had the passion for the nation. That's why he's able to work like this. Thinking about the country with a passion and trying to transform the country. Always ideas. As I told you, I have some experience. Swachha Bharat, housing for all. So Amrut, so many ideas. Even when I was Minister for Urban Development and all. And we used to discuss. And he always used to come with some innovative idea. And he has no hesitation to discuss and hear the views of others, as Amit Bhai was telling. People say, no, Narendra Bhai Modi is impatient. Yes, he is impatient about the slow progress. He wants everything to be accelerated because after 70 years of independence, still there are problems for the country. Yes, we are a big nation. So he wants to see that those gaps are filled up at the earliest. Poverty eradication, ending illiteracy, ending social discrimination. These are the priorities. That's why the personality has become acceptable to the large sections of the people. His extensive travels, both within and outside the country, deep immersion in socio-cultural work since early days, and keen observation of the problems of the people and the nation, and an abiding faith in the potential of the people and the country shaped the vision of Sri Narendra Bhai Modi. He put to effective use his valuable learnings to write a developmental script for his own state, Gujarat, as Chief Minister, and scaled up the same at the national level as the Prime Minister. Sri Narendra Bhai's vision, his dreams and mission India have been shaped by his extensive travels and insightful experiential journey. This is the fundamental differentiation that makes Sri Modi ji unique in several ways. There is probably no other public figure in the present contemporary times who had a comparable experiential journey as Sri Narendra Bhai Modi. The focus attention of Sri Narendra Bhai to all-round development as Chief Minister of Gujarat since 2001 and as Prime Minister since 2014 is an expression and manifestation of numerous felt experiences accumulated during the stints as a social activist and later as a political activist. His ability, mobility, coupled with stability, is bringing prosperity to the nation. One thing which I have also learned from my own experience is meet as many people as possible. Interact with as many people as possible. You will become more acceptable. And then you will get into the reality of the situation. This is what I learned from my experience also. And Sri Narendra Bhai Modi not only used to extensively travel, even now he's traveling, of course, interacts with the people and convey his thoughts. Today, in spite of so many problems and challenges, he is able to communicate with the people. Communication is the biggest transformation he brought in the nation. This has to be understood. You have to communicate your ideas. Reach as many people as possible. India is a country of diverse cultures and religions, regions. There are problems of language. So many things are there, but still is able to communicate to the people on regular basis and convey his thoughts and rationale. As I told you, I don't want to get into politics, but because of his communicative skills, in spite of that demonetization, still he was able to win the election because he communicated with the people and people developed trust in him. They had that confidence. Whatever this man does, he is doing for the sake of us. This sort of confidence he has built in with the people because of his regular communication. Born in a working class family, Sri Modi ji is full conversant with the struggles of the poor, and India had them in good numbers when he was young. Struggles of a nation are a collective of such individual struggles. As a perspective learner, Sri Modi acquired a deep understanding of such struggles at both the individual and at collective levels. In the process, he has realized that if India has to be revitalized, change must begin and be felt at the individual level. This is very important. The quality of life of each individual becomes his central focus. Sri Modi's comprehensive vision is shaped by his deep understanding of the life, works, and philosophy of Swami Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Ambedkar ji, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya ji, and many other leading lights, while the Mahatma took the freedom struggle from out of hands of the elite to turn it into a mass movement. Sri Narendra Bhai Modi, as Chief Minister and Prime Minister, converted developmental initiatives into such a mass movement. I remember when we were launching this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Prime Minister told me, I was Minister at the time, Urban Development, he told me, Venkaiah ji, इसको एक सरकार का कार्यक्रम का रूप नहीं देना, इसको एक राजनीतिक कार्यक्रम का रूप में नहीं देना। मेरा मन में आश्चर्य और राजनीतिक नहीं, सरकार नहीं तो और क्या है? उन्होंने कहा इसको एक जन आंदोलन का रूप देना चाहिए, जन आंदोलन, जन भागीदारी। क्योंकि over the years our psyche has been affected in such a manner that everything will be done by the government. सब काम सरकार करेगा, हम बेकार बैठे तो चलेगा, ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. Unless people get themselves involved, and they are made to involve, and they feel that it's for their good, the nation cannot move. This has been proved beyond doubt. And you know that I don't want to recollect all those schemes in detail, but they are becoming mass movements because of huge participation of the people. People's participation is vital. Jana Bhagidari. And every crisis, every time crises are there, and he converted crisis into opportunity. ये भी बहुत लोगों को आश्चर्य लगता है, अरे भाई ये तो आया, ये तो संभाल नहीं पाएगा, मगर बाद में ऐसी क्राइसिस को भी उन्होंने अपॉर्चुनिटी के रूप में कैसा कन्वर्ट करना करके दिखाया. That's an example. Taking bold decisions, even the odds are staked up against us, comes instinctively to him. Temporary failures, episodes, surprises do not better them. one day about the hesitation on taking this vaccine and all we were discussing. Temporary pain for long-term gain. He's able, temporary pain, it may be a little painful when you take that vaccination, but long-term gain. Now we are seeing the effects of it, the pandemic, how India is able to face this pandemic. Large people, number of people, even people किसी ने मजाक उड़ाया शुरू में क्या है vaccine, they are also quietly getting vaccinated. Because the reason is truth, proven truth. It is required. Along with that, he also made people, which is my favorite, this thing is of people participation, and also people should be healthy. If they are healthy, they can build a wealthy nation. A wealthy nation cannot become a healthy nation. A healthy nation can become a wealthy. See the initiatives for yoga, the motivation. And yoga has become a fascination across the globe, wherever. And also his fascination for the Indian culture, which is given by our forefathers. Now everywhere people are trying to follow our tradition, our culture, at least show that when we meet and greet people. Because the leader who is practicing, propagating, professing faith, he believes in it and he is showing it to the people, and people also started realizing, because we are a great civilization, thousands of years of our forefathers have given us this civilization, and we should protect that civilization. Civilization is different from religion. Some people have a wrong belief. Religion is different. Religion also is good in its own way, but there are different religions. But civilization, the great civilization, Indianness, Bharatiyata. And whenever I see the Prime Minister visiting any country, people are welcoming it with the Indian tradition, with Indian methods. And it is becoming now universally acceptable that the great Indian traditions are being respected, repeated, practiced by many across the globe. Taking bold decisions and also explaining their rationale, reaching out to the people and learning new things and then passing on them to the people. So he propagated a theory that our collective strength can make us emerge as a strong nation by building on the unique voice and vision that India has traditionally stood for in the global stage. He has demonstrated that India has an incredibly vast treasure of knowledge and wisdom that can be relevant for making the entire planet a better place to live. My dear brothers and sisters, thinking big and acting in scale. India is big in numbers and its problems among us, given the scale of population and the range of diversities. To address them, Modi ji has to think big and execute in a scale, in a speed, and the results are obvious. Some members attest this approach. Opening of 45 crore new bank accounts. मुझे याद आ रहा है जब हम सरकार में थे, उन्होंने कहा सबको बैंक अकाउंट खोलना चाहिए. मैंने कहा ठीक है, हमारा जमाने में पूरा हो जाएगा. उन्होंने कहा क्या जमाना? मैंने कहा हमारा टेन्योर नहीं, जल्दी होना चाहिए. मैंने कहा जो काम 50 साल से नहीं हो पाया उसमें उसको 5 साल में करना है, तो उन्होंने said no, he will arrest you. And no, you see the कुछ लोगों ने मजाक उड़ाया, अकाउंट क्या, पैसा ही नहीं है तो बैंक अकाउंट खोलने में मतलब क्या है? मगर आप लोग देख रहे हैं कितना बैंक अकाउंट है, तो पैसा कहाँ से आया? And one of the greatest contribution of this government is direct delivery, DBT. It has to be improved further at all levels by all people concerned, various stages of administration, center, state and local bodies and all. This Delivery mechanism has to be further improved, I do agree, but the good beginning has been made, a bold beginning has been made, direct delivery. Otherwise, you know the problems of the people in this country, they are suffering, you have to stand in line, meet, greet, and do something in between greeting and meeting and shaking hands and doing something between hands. Direct delivery, straight coming to your accounts. This is what is required. This is a wonderful transformation that has been brought about. And it should be further transformed and accelerated so as to reach the lost man, whoever is having problem. So DBT, I can say, is a great initiative. Building 12 crore toilets, 3 crore houses to add dignity to life, over 5 crore mudra loans, transferring over 20 lakh crore to the deserving beneficiaries under 320 schemes, direct benefit transfer, saving 2 lakh crores in process, bringing tremendous relief to 8 crore poor women with LPG cylinders, about 10 million people giving up their gas subsidy, and another 42 lakh senior citizens foregoing rail fare subsidy, and millions of youth being empowered with upgradation of skills. Appealing to the people to give up cylinder subsidy. देना नहीं ये मानसिकता से बाहर आके लोगों ने इतना त्याग किया, they can afford, so they don't want subsidy. He motivated people in that direction. That is one great aspect. And also some of the senior citizens also giving up this, what you call a concession. 19 crore households getting piped water. Thousands of kilometers of high-class roads being built. Breakneck speed. In fact, of course, this scheme was started by Sriman Atal Bihari Vajpayee, National Highway Network. Swarna Chaturbhuja Yojana, Atak to Katak, Kanyakumari to Kashmir. That road connectivity, rail connectivity, highway connectivity, tele connectivity, television connectivity, all connectivities started by him undoubtedly. Great man. And those are now, the way they are being implemented, see the road work network, the way it's expanding in the present regime. Unprecedented expansion of IITs, triple IITs, IIMs, AIMS, launching of thousands of model schools, etc., speak for this think big and act scale with the speed approach of the present Prime Minister. It is not that some of these things are like building houses, toilets were not done earlier, but as I was mentioning, he thinks differently and acts differently. Whatever Sri Modi ji does, he brings that with a lot of passion and energy to whatever he thinks and undertakes. He is a man whose sankalp or determination is firm and who has the perseverance to do whatever is necessary to make the mission succeed. He believes that ultimately outcomes are important. Siddhi, or the fulfillment of the dream, is our ultimate objective. Such big thinking and acting in scale approach doesn't succeed under a top-down approach. It is success hinges on bottom-up approach. And only if the people are made to become active partners, this can happen. That's why the stress on Janabhagidari. My dear friends, from Gujarat to Delhi, he has traveled a larger canvas and he had a variety of brushes to paint in India. His fellow citizens inspire him to create. He is receptive to ideas, whatever good idea from a small man or a big man. Ideas, if once he likes the idea, then he pushes it forward. A lot of examples are there. The successful implementation of programs like Kanya Kelavani for educating the girl child, Sujalam Sufalam paperless secretariat, broadband to all 1,300 villages in Gujarat, recasting governance to make the state a vibrant Gujarat, extensive adoption of GIS and GPS in welfare and development planning. He has scaled up all of them from Gujarat to national level. I have no hesitation in describing Modi as a scientist who first experiments and then scales up based on results. In doing so, Sri Modi does human service to the nation by adopting evidence-based initiatives and actions and reducing the chances of failure. My dear brothers and sisters, there is no aspect of our nation's public life that is not impacted by the Prime Minister since he became the Prime Minister. From politics to governance, he has set up a new normal in all domains. It is not business as usual anymore. He set new benchmarks in all spheres. So Sri Modi ji is now widely being acknowledged as an election mission. In our country, we have round-the-clock elections. And everybody is busy in that because election every 3 months, every 6 months. Election means 3-point program, election, collection, selection. So people used to get ready. But he focused more on development, on delivery. That is the reason for his success. This is what I firmly believe. Every practicing politician should have adequate understanding of the life context of common people and insight into their aspirations. He perfected this art. That's why he is seen as a successful campaigner, right from Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation in 1987. He took every election so seriously. Even if he is not there in the campaign, people discuss about him. That's the phenomena in this country. Either his supporters or his opponents. They discuss of Modi, even in municipal election also. And he has proved that a democracy can deliver. 2019 general elections to Lok Sabha has recorded the highest ever voting. This amounts to deepening the democracy and a major contribution of our Prime Minister. The politics of hope. Yes, Sri Narendra Modi is a politician as well as 24/7. It is politics of hope and appropriately defined by Amit Bhai in his article. As a fellow traveler of Sri Modi ji, the Home Minister rightly noted Sri Modi ji ushered in new era of public service. He further stated, and I quote, people looked at Sri Modi as one who would repair their broken dreams and restore India to prosperity. Repair. These observations of Sri Amit Bhai Shah, backed by Sri Modi ji's victory in 2014, which was a milestone in the political history of our country. He was voted as the Prime Minister with absolute majority in Lok Sabha after 30 long years. If you want prosperity, you need to have stability. If you want to have progress, peace is the prerequisite for progress. If you have tension, you cannot pay attention and have the retention of the ideas. So tension has to be reduced. It has been considerably reduced in this country. I have no hesitation to say. And all of us should work in public life, whoever is there, taking this occasion, to see peace is maintained at all levels. Respect for each other. Respect for each other. Respecting our political opponents. After all, we are only opponents. We are not enemies. This has to be remembered by one and all. And we are competing with each other in serving the people in our own way. And ultimately it is the people who have to decide. And people in the system also, must also have that patience. Some time back, there was a discussion that intolerance is going on in this country, growing. I said, yes. I said, particularly, you are intolerant to the mandate of the people. One must have tolerance, na? भाई 5 साल मौका दिया उनको, 5 साल आप अपना काम करो, उनको अपना काम करने दो, और जनता के बीच में जाके बीच में बताते रहो उनका क्या कमियां है, क्या गलतियां है, क्या शॉर्टकमिंग्स है। उतना पेशेंस होना चाहिए। इफ यू डोंट हैव दैट पेशेंस ना, you will become a patient. This has to be understood by one and all. Everyone, irrespective of this, that all now in the country, in one state, this party is ruling, in another state, another party is ruling, and in other state, another party also is ruling, new parties are ruling. So there are different borders. So each political party and leader must aim to improve the lot of the common man, improve the image of system, utilize the parliamentary forums in a better, effective manner, raise and enhance the prestige and honor of the parliament, of the legislatures, of the institutions while we are all working. We should respect them and we should utilize that forum. And in that forums also should be properly utilized. That's why I always say, let the government propose, let the opposition oppose, let the house dispose. There is no other way. This has to be understood by one and all. So my dear friends, I suggest to all the youngsters particularly to go through the contribution made by these people, analyze it, agree, disagree, no problem, because that is what is democracy and all, and then highlight where you disagree, how you disagree, and what you disagree, and then propagate the ideas to strengthen democratic functioning in the country. The Prime Minister's rigorous work schedule, I have the experience. He always works. मेरा पत्नी ने एक दिन मुझे बताया, मैं प्राइवेट विषय है फिर भी पब्लिक को बता रहा हूँ, थोड़ा मेरे पत्नी ने कहा प्रधानमंत्री को बताइए थोड़ा सा रात में ज्यादा समय सोना चाहिए। तो आई कन्वे टू प्राइम मिनिस्टर, भाई मेरा पत्नी जानता है, तो मैंने कहा क्या है, उन्होंने कहा मुझे नींद आता नहीं, नींद नहीं आए तो मैं क्या करूं, because he always thinks, he is never satisfied, he want to improve further. You think that you have done an excellent work, he says there is scope for further excellence. He always thinks on those lines. That restiveness is not to create unrest. The restiveness is to improve further, to better the life of the people. That should be there in every politician, of any party, of anything. Not to be restive that you have not been elected or selected or rejected. The restiveness is to do better and believe in future, work hard, and then you can really move. This Shrestha Bharat, Swachha Bharat, Swastha Bharat, Surakshit Bharat, Sampanna Bharat, Surakshit Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are all collectively dreaming of. These are possible only when we all work together.